All righty, here we go. Welcome, Rotarians and guests. This is showtime. Here we go. Meeting 5,484 of the Rotary Club of San Jose. Thank you. Thank you so much. I want to give a shout out to Scotty and Lalo. Every single week I walk in this room, and every single week they've got different decor. We've got fresh tablecloths. They come up with themes, and it's a surprise every week. Thank you, Scotty and Lalo. This will go down in history as the most foolish thing that I'm going to do, and that is I am allowing guest introductions on the most packed day of the house. Let's get our red badgers with traveling mics up there. I believe we've got Jim Free and Brian Kimball. Where are you, Jim Free and Brian Kimball? All right. Please give a brief introduction of yourself and who your sponsor is.
Hello, I'm Brian Kimball with the City of San Jose City Attorney's Office, representing the city on energy matters, sponsored by Daniel Zazueta.
Great to have you. Thank you so much. Jim Free.
Yes, I'm Jim Free. I was born free. And I came in as a result and a request of a guy that I'd never heard of before, but his name was Rod Dierdon.
Oh, Rod Squad.
So anyway, here I are, and I
Glad
couldn't
you're here.
say no. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, now if you are a traveling Rotarian or a guest a Rotarian with a guest, please stand up and our microphones will find you. Jiffy Quick, whiz-a-bang. I'm going with the Jiffy Quick. All right, I've got Todd Trickell.
Yep, President Heather, good afternoon. I'd like to introduce a great friend, I think maybe your cousin, John Franco, Director of Business Development with Swinnerton.
Great to have you, cousin John Franco. All right, who's next? Let's keep it moving along quickly. Hi, Dave Peterson. Looks like your microphone's not working.
My lovely wife, Ann. Thank you.
Hi, lovely wife, Ann.
Thank you. President Heather, it's
James.
James Williams, City Government. Briefly, my guest is Jeff Daughtery, a dear friend from Willow Glen. He's a retired hospital CFO.
Great to have you. Nice to have you as a bureaucrat finally. So good. All right, who's next?
President Heather, Keyston Smith here, Silker. I've got two guests today. Dave Bartels, he has the best title around, fire engineer for San Jose Fire Department. All right.
Fantastic. Great to have you.
And Chris Johnson with Unity Care. They support foster youth after the foster system.
Wonderful. Thanks for all your great work.
Hey, President
Bonnie
Heather,
Bamberg.
Bonnie Bamberg. Yes, and I have a lovely guest with me today, Lynn Rosenthal, who's chairman of the Arts Commission, a retired graphic artist, and just a really good friend.
Really good to have you. Thanks for being here in the room.
Hi, President Heather.
Hi, Sarju.
I've got two guests with me today. First, Jose Plasencia with Jose's Mobile Bar. This is Jose's
Oh, we remember
second
Jose, this
meeting.
mobile bar.
So, two meetings down.
Fantastic. Great to have you
All
back.
right. And then here we go. My second guest is Mike D'Ambrosio. I've been trying to get him in the room for a while. Mike is with Giorgio's Italian Restaurant and Pizzeria, as well as New York Style Sausage.
You are San Jose famous, my friend. So glad you're here. Thank you. Evgenia Murfield.
President Heather, I brought with me today my colleague from Silicon Valley Monterey Bay Council, Scouting America, Steve Solberg, a director of field services, who also happens to be a fellow Rotarian from Santa Cruz.
Fantastic. Great to have you. One of my fave ex-colleagues there.
Hello, President Heather.
Hi,
Kelly
Kelly.
Dipple, Sarju Naran was my sponsor, and I would like to introduce Melody Lynn, very good friend of mine. She is a plastic surgeon for over 20 years. She
Oh,
owns her
call
own
me.
Practice. She is also part of the Navy Reserve since 2016. This is her second meeting. She will be joining us, and I'm thinking maybe military care.
I'm thinking so. They'll find you. Raise your hand, Catherine and Bill. All right, next up.
President Heather, David Heindel.
Hi, Dave.
Tim Gill and Sandra Gill were my sponsors, and my friend Chris Kendrick, who is the Downtown Operations Manager for the San Jose Downtown Association.
Great to have you, Chris.
Hi, President Heather. Kimberly Hill. Brian Adams was my sponsor, and I brought my guest, Christian Barnard, a student of mine at Santa Clara University in
Go
poli
Broncos.
sci and theater.
So great. And a
Go
theater
Broncos.
kid, too. Even better. Great to have you. Hello, Hello, good to see you again.
President Heather. Gay Crawford, my sponsors were Stu Park and Randy Hall. I am thrilled to introduce you to Pamela Klaus, the new Executive Director of Cancer Care Point.
A Rotary favorite, great to have you. Thank you. We're doing pretty well. You guys are doing great with my Jiffy Quick Whiz-a-Bang. Yes, hello.
Hi, my name is Sharon Salmon, and I'm a visiting Rotarian from Cupertino.
Cupertino. If you guys don't know, Cupertino has had the best growth in their entire district. I'm super impressed with you. Thanks for keeping Rotary alive.
Great. James McCaskill from Catholic Charities. Two guests from Catholic Charities. Mike Bright, who's the Director of Youth Empowerment for Success in the Washington United Youth Center, doing youth gang intervention and juvenile probation. And Sharon Miller, who's the Program Director of Social Ministries right down here on 5th Street, famous for the window, providing postal service for the unhoused.
Great to have you.
Reentry services and services in the jail.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate the work you do. Hey, Norm Hallberg.
Hello, President Heather. I have two guests today. Jim Salata is famous in a different way over here. Jim Salata of Garda City Construction Company. And no, what do you say, Matt? He's, among other things, he's famous for the rescue efforts of the Trash Bag Church. You all saw that in the paper. Jim Salata.
Yeah. Yay, Jim.
And my guest, Colin Forgey with Sun Archer Investments, family office of managing apartments.
Great to have you. Thanks for being here.
President Heather, Bunny Layden, and my sponsors are Dick Conniff and James Williams. I'd like to introduce my dear friend Annie McMahon, and she is retired business analyst manager at Lamb Research.
Great to have you. Thanks for coming to the room. Hi, Papa Rod.
Hello, Your Royal Highness. I'm very proud to be introducing your guest today, Lily Guggenheim, who is assistant to the mayor, who will be, not the mayor, pardon me.
That'd be the congressperson.
The past mayor, past mayors.
She'll take care of you next, Matt. She'll be your chief of staff next.
She works for Sam Licardo, and her folks own the downtown theater complex.
They do.
Lily
They own
Guggenheim.
Thank you, Lily, for being here. San Jose famous. I love it. Who do we have? Hello.
Hello, President Heather. I'm Jason Laker. My sponsor was Elizabeth Monley, of course, and brought with me my wife, Leah.
Hi, Leah. Thanks for joining. Hello, Alri.
Hi, President Heather. I am so happy to introduce two friends. My dear friend, Jumana Latif, who's a volunteer with the California Native Garden Foundation and a docent for Mid-Peninsula Open Space District, and her visiting sister, Nafisa Kurakivala. Yes. Did I say that correctly? Oh, thank you. And she is a very important Rotarian, and I'm so thrilled to tell you about her.
Wait, you just got to say the club, and I got to move on because I've got 30 seconds left.
North 2022, and Solar Grotto project affected 6,000 villagers.
Thank you so much for your service to Rotary. Bombay Club. Steve Solberg, I wish you had the furthest travel today, but she wins from Bombay.
President Heather,
Hi,
Mike Fulton, my sponsor was the Shirley Lewis.
Ooh, very nice.
I have a guest with me today. Her name is Tao Nguyen. Tao is the most senior officer with Comerica Bank here in the South Bay, responsible for bringing Comerica back as a sponsor of a gala, and has agreed to join Rotary.
Oh my goodness, wonderful. Guys, I'm sorry to do this to you, but I have time for one more introduction that I got to call up the mayor, and I think it's going to Nicole.
Hi, President Heather. Nicole Weckler, San Jose Chamber of Commerce. My sponsor was Ron Drake. I'm happy to introduce Kat, who is the policy manager at the Chamber.
So great to have you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome up the mayor of San Jose. Mr. Cakeface himself.
Yeah. Thanks, Heather. Good to see you. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I tend to move around a lot up here, so I'm taking my jacket off. All right, we're on a strict schedule here. Yeah, I'll pace with the microphone. How's the sound? Is that okay in the back? Awesome. Good afternoon. It's great to see you all. Sometimes I get so busy, I don't remember what day of the week it is, except for Wednesdays, because I see cars parked all the way up to the top of the garage here. So it's great to see such a wonderful turnout, and that our downtown Rotary is staying alive and well and delivering a lot of impact here in our community. Thank you all for being so involved and for the kind invitation. We have limited time, so I'm going to talk real fast. I'm going to stay kind of high level, and that way we can get to some questions and a little bit of Q&A here. I am here to speak a little bit on where we are as a city fiscally, what is in the budget this year, and some things to look ahead to next year. And I'll focus in a little more on a couple of policy proposals that have certainly engendered some debate, so we'll get into those. All right, so a few slides for you. Budget Town Hall. Here's where we are in the process. Every year, the single most important thing we do as a council is collectively vote on how to spend your tax dollars. Overall, the city budget's about $6 billion of that. A little over $1.5 billion is discretionary, and it's really for those core city services: police, fire, libraries, roads, parks. So we are about 2/3 of the way through the process. The city manager just released her proposed operating and capital budgets, and now I have the responsibility of working with my team and colleagues to bring back a final June message for any final revisions, and then we will have a council vote. Must be passed by a majority, 6 members of the council, in June, and then our fiscal year starts July 1. I always start with just high-level economic trends because, of course, our city budget, it's obvious but bears repeating, our fiscal position is really downstream of the economy. It's a derivative of how the economy is doing. And right now, frankly, I think we have a very mixed picture. We have some real bright spots. We're seeing tremendous energy and potential investment, some initial investment, but a lot of potential investment around the AI economy. We now have nearly 100 venture-backed AI startups in San Jose, the main clusters being downtown and North San Jose. We have, it's definitely good news, we have a lot of demand, in fact, an incredible pipeline of potential data centers and R&D centers tied to those data centers. They are not a done deal yet, but PG&E did an industry cluster analysis related to data centers and found over 1 gigawatt of potential data center projects in San Jose. To put that in perspective, the current energy demand of the entire city today is just over 1 gigawatt. So that would represent almost a doubling, and we're very lucky that we are actually positioned, thanks to CAISO, LS Power, and PG&E, we have about 2 gigawatts of new capacity over the coming years being built out in San Jose, 1 new transmission line from the north and 1 from the south, and that opens up tremendous opportunity. Another bright spot is our experience economy, and you're sitting in the middle of it right now. Downtown in particular, as well as Santana Row, Valley Fair area, have been extremely, not just resilient, they're growing. In fact, Santana Row is now, if it's not already, nearing Valley Fair and Santana Row is now nearing the top, breaking into the top 5 largest retail centers in the United States. So that's really incredible. It's the most significant one in Northern California already. And then downtown, we're continuing to see month over month, year over year increases in foot traffic, sales tax activity. We're seeing restaurants open. We're seeing large events come back. GTC, Google's AI conference, was 20% larger than last year. And then, of course, 2026, Super Bowl, March Madness, World Cup. You all have probably talked a bit about that. We have some big events next year. We'll be on the global stage, and we're making investments in both programming but also public infrastructure to put downtown in a position to be a destination, to be the urban center for Silicon Valley. So that's the good news. On the other side of the ledger, we've got a tremendous amount of risk coming out of Washington. We're already in multiple lawsuits with this administration. We have a lot of federal funding that is on the line and at risk. We continue to have high office vacancies, particularly airport and downtown, still at that 30% or so level. And I just have to flag, we get less investment than we should, even relative to the demand. There's a demand and need for housing. There's a demand and need for data centers and some other uses today that would get shovels in the ground right now, but for the fact that our cost to build is so high. And that's not just a San Jose problem, that's really a California problem. If you haven't seen the RAND report that just came out on cost of housing production in California, Colorado, and Texas, it is well worth a read. Costs 3.5 times more to build the exact same apartment in the Bay Area as it does in Texas. And that's not all land costs. Okay, so fiscally, downstream of the economy, what does that mean? As I was sort of pointing to around cost, but this is specific to the city, we are struggling with our costs, particularly our cost of labor, going up faster than our revenue growth. So that is presenting a challenge. For now, we want to pay well, we want to keep our workforce here, but we're not seeing our revenue grow to keep pace, so that contributes to the deficit we had this year. This year, in the city manager's proposed operating budget, needed to close a $35 million shortfall. The reason we're able to do that without layoffs and big service cuts is we are aligning our Measure E revenues with the big investments the council has chosen to make in interim housing and alternatives to our streets for our unhoused population. So we have secured a funding source, Measure E, for the operation of interim housing and these more scalable, immediate alternatives to the streets, and prevention. And we are investing in the countywide prevention system to help people with short-term cash assistance. We're continuing to project a shortfall next year as well. That could be much harder to resolve. So we're going to do everything we can to boost the economy, control costs, and not have to cut services next year. So this will be no surprise to anyone. I've been very consistent on this in recent years. My budget message continues to make the argument that we need to stay focused. We have a smaller tax base per capita, we have high debts, and we do not have rapidly growing revenue, so we have to prioritize. And just to quickly touch on these, on unsheltered homelessness, we are adding over 1,000 new placements, safe managed places, mostly converted motel rooms and individual modular units for people who today are on our streets. That is more new, safe, dignified, private interim housing than any other city on the West Coast this year. On cleaning up our neighborhoods, good news, bad news. Good news is our Beautify SJ team and all of our volunteers are doing amazing work, and once again, we're cleaning up faster, graffiti, illegal dumping, and more than last year by another double-digit growth. So we're getting better and faster at cleaning up. The bad news is it's growing by double digits and our budget is not, which means we're crowding out other spending. So in addition to eradication, we're investing in education, and we are beginning to invest in enforcement again that is targeted. Just to give you a sense of this, in the last couple of months, SJPD has done some good investigative work, apprehended 3 individuals who between them were responsible for over 100 tags on small businesses and public property. And we have one guy who is already out painting a community mural as part of his many hours of community service he now needs to do. So we are getting back to enforcing quality of life crime for the good of the community, but doing it in a thoughtful way and really focusing on restitution and rehabilitation. Community safety, you know we are understaffed here dramatically. Other big cities on average have twice as many officers per capita as we do, believe it or not. Our police chief has set a goal of increasing academy sizes this year by 33%. So that is a big push. We also are continuing to invest in technology. We just announced our real-time crime intelligence center. We are tying together DOT cameras, our officer body-worn cameras, our license plate readers, Air 3, the helicopter, to have good real-time intelligence for both real-time response but also follow-up investigations. Just last year, those ALPRs, automatic license plate readers, helped us recover over $3 million worth of your stolen vehicles, solve a kidnapping, and a number of other very serious crimes. And for those of you who are worried about your privacy, if the image of the license plate and the time place is not being actively used in an investigation, we delete it. We are not keeping a long-term, and we don't share it with anybody. It's used for immediate follow-up investigations. And then growing our economy, I touched on, we were trying to say yes to this AI revolution. You may have seen our Innovative Project Pathway program. We are looking at ways to say yes to data centers, R&D labs, and really make it possible for that backbone of the next kind of frontier in our innovation economy to continue to exist here. That's a competitive edge for us. In fact, we are about to, we've just put out an RFP for the economic development land up in North San Jose along 237. That is 159 acres. Just to put this in perspective, one data center, which can be, depending on how dense it is, can be 5 or 10 acres, but one data center in the ground in San Jose today of 50 to 100 megawatts gives us as a city $3 to $6 million of net revenue to our general fund that we can spend on anything, arts and culture groups, police and fire staffing, parks, roads. That is a big deal and a big opportunity. And so we are leaning into economic development opportunities. On building housing last year, and I see our former councilmember Dev Davis here, who was a big champion of this policy, we extended our incentives for multifamily housing construction, and we expanded the zone, the areas where those incentives can be applied. Last year was devastating for all of us who care about housing supply to allow our kids and grandkids to live here. We had 0 building permits pulled for new multifamily market rate housing in the city of San Jose for the first time in, as far as I know, decades, many decades. This year, thanks to the incentives and really, if anything, right sizing of fees that council passed late last year, we are anticipating 2,000 of those units moving forward. We've already been to a number of groundbreakings. So building permits are getting pulled. We think 2,000 units will get under development this year after 0 last year. So that's good news. All right. How am I doing on time? Okay. Let me jump into the controversial stuff. Got a little applause. Now we can get some tomatoes. Here we go. So two things I've written at some length. If you want to actually read the detail, you can go to the March budget message or other things I and others have put out. But I've proposed a couple of policy initiatives that have, like I said, sparked a lot of debate. So let me just take a couple of minutes on both responsibility to shelter and pay for performance. On responsibility to shelter, as I mentioned, we're adding more safe, dignified alternatives to the street, mostly individual private rooms than any other city on the West Coast. These are specifically designed to be low barrier. You can bring your partner, your pets, your belongings. There's no curfew. We don't kick you out after a certain number of days, months, or years. There's no sobriety requirement. We don't allow on-site drug use or weapons, but we don't kick you out because you come back to your unit high on something. So we have tried to be extremely low barrier and meet people where they are. And here's the good news, but there's a challenge. The good news is, and it's important to always say this so that we don't leave the broader community with the wrong impression, the vast majority of people on our streets want these opportunities, are grateful for them, and accept them. And so as we scale up, as I have been arguing for the last few years, safe, dignified alternatives to the streets, we are bringing down the number of people outside because we have a place for people to go. And that's great. We also have to acknowledge the very uncomfortable fact that we have a portion of our unhoused population that is struggling mightily with behavioral health issues. I see this. Our police officers and firefighters are your best source of information on this, who, by the way, are making 10% or so of their calls out to encampments, of all calls. Talk to the nurses and doctors at EPS. We have a group of folks who are really struggling and are what we call service resistant. And unlike some neighboring cities and others across the country that in the wake of Grants Pass have decided to just ban camping, right? We'll just ban camping and hope that it disappears. That's kind of one end of the spectrum. There's the other end of the spectrum, which is, well, we'll just help those who want help and say yes There's an area in the middle here that I think we have to confront, and I'm pushing us to confront, which is when someone is repeatedly refusing the interim housing we are offering, there is usually a reason that we need to be willing to confront and grapple with, and we need to be willing to intervene. In the last 10 years in the state of California, over 50,000 unsheltered homeless individuals have died. That is of the magnitude of the Vietnam War. In San Jose, nearly half have died of overdose or suicide. So my proposal is, as we are out, and it's been a little misreported in the press, we're not arresting people for refusing shelter. But when we are in encampments and we identify service resistance and people who are refusing to come indoors and are still in a no encampment zone, I do believe that we have a duty to try to petition to get that person into a behavioral health court, or drug court, or mental health court. And we absolutely need our partners at the county and the state, and I've spent a lot of time talking to the governor about this, and our state leaders as well as our county leaders. We need more inpatient treatment, and we will need involuntary treatment, even if it's for a short period of time. You know, in many other very civilized places, you go to Portugal, Holland, you're repeatedly using meth or fentanyl or some drug in public, you are involuntarily sent to detox for 30, 60, 90 days, to detox, and to get the help that you need. So we're gonna have to confront this. Unfortunately, at the city level, we don't have a lot of great tools. We send a lot of outreach workers, we call the trust team, we have the PERT team, which is clinicians and PD, but we are struggling to deal with that subset of the population who are most likely to die on our streets, most likely to harm others. I'll remind you, last week we had a police officer stabbed by an unhoused individual who has been repeatedly engaged with outreach and law enforcement. We had a 15-year-old punched in the face by an unhoused neighbor who has repeatedly been engaged by the system. It is not compassionate nor progressive to leave that person on the streets to die of overdose or to potentially harm others. And we as a community, city, county, DA, public defender, all of us are gonna have to do a much better job to acknowledge this reality and do right by our most vulnerable neighbors on the streets and, frankly, by the broader community that is so often actually having to deal with these impacts and feels very little support from their government leaders on this issue. Okay, so I'm down to 2 minutes, so I'll just say pay for performance to me is the continuation of why I ran for mayor, which was those focus areas, but how do we create a government that's more efficient, more focused, more responsive, more accountable? And thanks to the council, we have gone from 40-some focuses or priorities, I should say, down to the 5 that I named. We have created scorecards and dashboards. We have aligned as a council and said, here are the outcome goals that we're setting within each of our 5 focus areas. These are the performance measures we will use to know if the dollars, your dollars we're spending on programs and policies are actually moving the needle, moving toward the outcomes we care about. And the final piece for me is to take a portion of our pay. In the case of elected officials, I'm proposing 5% of our pay, pretty modest. I used to be a CEO who would go into a board meeting and wonder if I was going to walk out still having a job. So I think 5% is reasonable. And then we already have a program, a performance program in place for city manager and senior staff, including department heads. But the fundamental principle is each year when we pass a budget, we should vote on and publicly prioritize those top goals. We should agree on how we measure success. We should set some improvement targets. We should perform and measure. We should publicly report out at the end of the 12-month fiscal year. And at least a portion of our pay, I'm saying 5%, whatever it ends up being, needs to be tied to how much measurable progress we make on your top priorities. That is the proposal. We do it throughout the private sector. We do it in many nonprofits. We do it in many places. But that's what I'm proposing, and will also be up for a vote alongside responsibility to shelter as a code of conduct policy and the broader budget that I sort of touched on high level earlier, and that vote will be in mid-June. I shared the details there, and we'll invite you to come to our council meeting when we vote and share your perspective on these important issues. Thank you all so much for having me.
All right, fantastic. We continue with this well-orchestrated dog and pony. Those traveling microphones, can we get those around for questions, please? All right, Dan Orloff, first up.
Thanks, Matt. You know, you've talked and shown your support for the music community, as you call it, I think the experience economy in downtown San Jose. But share with us your grand vision on how we could plug into the Bay Area's contribution to providing live entertainment and festivals and such.
Thanks, Dan, and in the interest of time, I'll be pretty high level on this. But by the way, you have a big music festival coming up, don't you? Blues and Brews. Buy a ticket, one of the most fun events of the year in San Jose. Look, we are the only, downtown San Jose is the only place in all of Silicon Valley that can offer a mixed-use, dense, walkable, transit-connected urban experience. And we're not trying to make the whole city New York. I've knocked on enough doors in Almaden to know we do not want to make the whole city New York. But we ought to be able to have a vibrant, mixed-use, walkable downtown with restaurants, bars, live music, and cultural experiences, and conventions, and sports, and entertainment. And it's just, it needs to happen, and it needs to happen here. There's no other place to do it. And so as we get close to, knock on wood, signing the Sharks for another 25 years, we just locked in the San Jose Giants. We are seeing out at Creekside Social and the future Google campus, whatever it ends up becoming, we're seeing some activation and the beginnings of community space where there'll be outdoor performance spaces. I don't want to scoop them too much. We are seeing a lot of momentum toward this vision of having a dynamic, walkable place with all of these amenities. And guess what? People are voting with their feet. Just to put it in perspective, from 2019, pre-pandemic to today, office workers coming in Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, we're back to about 85%, high 80% of where we were. Nights and weekends, we're at 120% of where we were. People want to come down for restaurants, music, festivals, conferences. So we're going to lean into it, and that means getting permitting out of the way, making investments in stitching districts together, improving lighting, paint. We have a lot of partners in this room who are helping us move in that direction.
Great, we're going with Dave Peterson, and if I can get a microphone to Karen Sununu-Towery right here in the front next would be great. Go for it, Dave.
Hi, Matt. Thanks for the great message, and I just want to thank you for your cool, calm, and collected attitude through all of this. I can't believe you don't get angry when you probably could at times, and you just never do. My question really relates to whether you're putting the unfunded liabilities in the forefront of people's minds that might be out there, and how well is the county and the state working with you to get those resources that really are a big part of their responsibilities to support the city?
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. On the unfunded liability, when I do the actual budget presentation at town halls, and I have 30 minutes to present, I have a whole set of slides on that. Right now, I can tell you the numbers are about 17% of our general fund, so 17 cents off the dollar each year, or $366 million, or almost one fire department worth of our budget goes to paying the unfunded liability. Thanks to the pension reform efforts that were made, and it was messy, but eventually everybody came together and found a compromise, we are on a glide path to paying those off sometime in the early 2040s. So we do need to learn the lesson that the commitments we make, and we need to make strong commitments to our workforce, but we need to be honest about the math, and we need to actually do what it takes to meet those commitments, because we are paying a big price. In terms of the state and the county, you know, in private, the conversations are a lot more productive than they seem in the paper, I'll be honest with you. But we've got some great allies. Senator Cortese, Senator Becker, Senator Blakespear from San Diego are all very much on top of this notion of fair share that I've been talking about, requiring localities to do a mathematical model for functional zero. What is your plan to actually get everybody off the streets? The challenge is, without you all, without the electorate forcing us at all levels of government to treat this like a crisis, even though we like to call it that, it's going to be business as usual. It's always easier for government to help those who want the help, who can access it, who are easier to serve. We need to force the system to be more practical and more responsive and act with greater urgency to address the hardest to reach people, the people who are hardest to serve, but who most need the help and frankly are having the biggest impact on the broader community.
Fantastic. Karen.
Thank you for being here, and congratulations on doing a great job in a difficult climate. You used the term unsheltered individuals. And I'd like to draw your attention to Taylor Street, Spring Street, where there is a community of RVs that have decimated that public park. What is the plan for that? And do you consider those unsheltered?
Yes, so thank you, Karen. And I have to thank Karen for stepping up when she filled in as our acting independent police auditor for many, many months when the city was in need. And I just want to thank you, Karen, for choosing to serve in that way. So yes, unsheltered is when people are living outside in tents and vehicles and do not have basic infrastructure, consistent access to sanitation, utilities, other services. To put this in perspective, by the way, so in San Jose we have over 5,000 people who are unsheltered, give or take. Statewide, so California is 12% of the nation's population. We are nearly 50% of the nation's unsheltered population. Cities and states with harsh winters build a lot of shelter capacity. There are many states with more inpatient treatment beds per capita than we have. We are very low on treatment beds and shelter beds per capita. And by the way, we're the most expensive place to build housing and have far too little of it, which has underlined this entire crisis. So yes, those folks are unsheltered. I've been out there multiple times just in the last couple of months. The plan is to decommission that site later this year as we bring more interim housing options, motel conversions, modular units online, so that we don't simply displace people to your neighborhoods, but we offer them a dignified alternative. We cannot always offer everyone the ideal solution, but our goal is not to simply chase people around the city and clean up after folk. We want to get people into a safe managed site with some infrastructure. That's the goal.
Great, thank you. We have 2 minutes, so we can get Rod for sure. Maybe Fernando. Go for it, Rod.
Let me go quickly. In the 1970s, Reagan shut down the mental hospitals for the seriously mentally retarded. And they all came to your streets, our streets. At that time, it was my streets. But the money didn't come. That's what you're addressing now. The Ethics Roundtable for the region has declared support for your position of creating permanent facilities for those people, as has the governor. We wish you good luck, and let us know if there's a way to help.
Thanks, Rod, I appreciate it. And again, it bears repeating, we do not want to paint with a broad brushstroke. I've spent a lot of time out in our encampments. There are a lot of folks out there for economic reasons, job loss, unexpected health issue, divorce, et cetera. But Rod, you're right. We have 185,000 homeless individuals in California. 125,000 of them are unsheltered. And of that, you can draw a direct line to our deficit of tens of thousands of mental health and drug treatment beds, addiction treatment beds, that we do not have, and that on a ratio basis we would have if we were in line with many other states. So yes, it is a huge gap in the overall system, no doubt.
Very quick, Fernando, last one.
Thank you, Matt. Some people in our community focus on the fact that these service-resistant individuals can be incarcerated, and they focus just on that aspect of it, calling it inhumane. What is it that they recommend to you to address that problem?
Well, it's a great question. I appreciate you asking it. It's the question I've been asking for the last few years. We don't have great alternatives for intervening in these cases. And I do want to be clear, the sheriff made clear, and I've made clear from the moment I've rolled this out, people are not doing jail time in Santa Clara County for things like trespassing. That's just, just whether you like it or not, that is the reality in practice. My goal actually is if someone's repeatedly refusing housing, repeatedly refusing services, and breaking other muni codes, like trespassing, like property damage, cutting down trees, tapping into electrical lines, etc. My goal would be to actually get them over to the Mission Street Recovery Center or some other setting where they have a first chance to talk to a counselor and understand that we're serious, we're going to intervene. There is some interruption of the cycle, but we want to get you help. That is always the goal. The only reason we're even talking about law enforcement and the city attorney is we have no other mechanism for petitioning to get someone into a behavioral health court. You have to sort of commit a crime so that we can then say, oh, you might need mandated treatment. This is the gap we have in California right now. We don't have licensure from the state to even do a dedicated secure treatment facility. even if you desperately needed to save your life. Judge Manley has over 100 people in his court sitting in the county jail for lack of an appropriate treatment alternative. So we're going to have to confront this as a city, county, and state. We have a real problem around serious addiction to meth and fentanyl that are 50 times more addictive than heroin and cocaine of the 80s and 90s. We have people dying on our streets, and we need to be willing to intervene with compassion, but we can't be complacent and say, well, wait for you to choose help. It's not working.
Thank you so much, Mayor Matt. We're going to do a quick photo. So, yeah. Brief. This is great. You were fantastic. I don't ever want to cut off the applause. We made a gift in your name to Preservation Action Council. That's one of our speaker benefits. And of course, we have these premium Chandler walnuts, my agricultural love letter to San Jose. Let's get a quick photo and send you on your way.
All right.
All right. Your own stylist. Thank you so much.
Good to see you. Thanks so much.
One more round of applause, please. If you didn't notice, that was a different thing than we usually do. We don't usually put speaker first, but now we're just going to flip the script here today. Just lost my mic. There we go. Blue Badgers, come on up. We've got brand new Blue Badgers. Come on up. Yeah. What we're going to do is we're going to present this to you, do a quick little grin and grip, and send you on your way. Odessa Bitbevel. Oh my gosh, it's been a year, Rachel, already? Rachel Thomas. That flew by. Ruxana injured her foot, so we're waving to her. She's in the audience. Ruxana, I'll get your badge to you. Ruxana Khan. And then we've got, oh, not yet, Chris Carroll. I know that's a bit rushed. We really appreciate you. This has been such an incredible Red Badge year, and now all those red badges are turning blue, and we look forward to introducing more of you very shortly. Come on up, my buddy Todd Trickell, and tell us how great that fish day was.
Well, good afternoon. Come on, I need some excitement. How do you follow the mayor? Hey, I am pleased to announce that our 30th annual Rotary Fish Day was a whopping success. That is assuming that you measure success by laughs, smiles, and keeping the students out of the lake. Keeping the Rotarians out of the lake, not so much. Not kidding. I thought we had photos of it, but we don't. Oh man. Okay, so we have a video somewhere. So quickly, by the numbers, we had 115 third graders join us this year from Washington Elementary, Mount Pleasant, and Evergreen. 150 parents joined those students. We had 120 volunteers. Many of those volunteers were you here in this room. More than 50 Rotarians. 30 cadets from the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Training Academy came out and helped us. They were amazing. We had scouts out there, and we had community volunteers. We consumed 4.5 gallons of coffee that morning and more than 100 donuts. A lot. 1,100 pounds of fish were planted. Unfortunately, they weren't hungry fish, and I think we're on a hunger strike. How many? 5 pounds of fish, also known as like 5 fish were caught. Not a great ratio this year. Heather, if you want to fire me, I understand. Hundreds of smiles, total cost priceless. And how about, look at this photo here of Dennis and that student just having a great time. So here are some photos. We started off early, getting caffeinated, getting those donuts in us, and then making final touches on those rods and reels before we welcome the students. President Heather joined us with her fashion-forward jeans. Nice. Yeah, you're such an outdoors woman. And then Brian Allen, for the 30th consecutive year, provided the volunteer orientation, which was met with a resounding success. We sent the kids off out to the lake where they started fishing, and it was great. There was so much excitement and so much enthusiasm. Now, for the fishing buddies, it was hard. The amount of rats' nests and snags and everything else that we had to deal with was intense, but we got through it. Now, what is wrong with this picture? We have Brian Allen here, 85 years old. The actual just works his tail off of this thing, carrying a 50-pound wagon. And meanwhile, Sean Cottle, Tim, and Rob Silva are sitting there screwing off, okay? So Kathleen, great job for catching this photo, and I'm gonna have a conversation with them afterwards. I still can't believe that. Here's some photos of these kids just having such a great time, and for many of them, fishing for the first time. So capturing some smiles and some excitement along the lake. So we did catch our first fish within about an hour. That is a catfish. That's about a $900 catfish that you see there. But that's okay. And then after the kids finished up fishing, we retired up to the gazebo area where the executive chefs prepared more than 350 meals for the volunteers and the students. They did a great job for us. And then here's some additional pictures of some of the folks that were helping us. And then, as I've said before, this event really takes a village. It's an incredible amount of coordination, both internal to our organization and externally. So I'd just like to recognize the executive chefs, the photography committee. Kathleen, you were fantastic. Thank you so much. Scouts BSA with Sal Pizarro, Los Amigos de Washington, Military Care Committee, Interact Club Storytelling, and then certainly our Rotary Fish Committee. So I want to acknowledge those people, and then at the end, we're all going to stand up. Certainly Chelsea and Mark and Desiree and David and Sean and Rick and Bruce and Sal and all of you did such a wonderful job, and I just sincerely thank you for your dedication to this event. And Evgenia, thank you so much for stepping up and helping us out and getting 80 gallons of water donated. Also, from a financial perspective, our dear friends with Kaiser Permanente came in and made a $2,500 contribution to this event and donated jump ropes. So with that being said, I just thank you for supporting this event. We set out to teach the students about ecology and about how to fish and how to enjoy the outdoors, and we did just that. So thank you for investing in this event. And finally, if you did come out on that Saturday and help participate in any form or fashion, can you please stand up and be recognized? Thank you so much for your help.
Todd, you could catch 0 fish, and you'd always be my first choice. We do need to address the outdoorsy statement. However, I don't know why you all get that idea about me. But for the record, I am certified by Paul Petzold's National Outdoor Leadership School, and I did climb Mount Shasta in December and telemarked down. So let's put that to bed. I know, impressive, huh? All right, Unhealth Impact Committee, come on up.
Thank you, President Heather, for having us come up today when Matt Mahan was our speaker. Oh, my.
Let's make that right for you. Let's do that.
Okay, is that better? Oh, okay, sorry. So anyways, we really appreciate this, and it's a real honor because one of the things that we're doing is we're following Matt Mahan's leadership on his vision for how we deal with our unsheltered homeless population today. And part of what we're doing is we're looking for opportunities and ways that we can support that. We're doing this through several actions within our committee, one of which is we are engaging with the organizations you see on this slide. These are all organizations that focus on unsheltered homeless, or transitional homeless, or food insecurity. So, anyways. And so we're also doing other things. One of the things we're doing is we're learning. We do this we have our own programs committee, and we invite individuals, including individuals from Mayor Matt's office, to come speak to us about their perspectives on the kaleidoscope of this big and complex problem. So we do that, and then we also attend city council meetings, panel discussions, and other forums where this topic is discussed. Finally, we look for ways to further engage with other organizations and other activities where we can continue to spread our skills, provide support for those who are following Mayor Mahan's vision. And with that, I'd like to add and pass the mic off to Irene and Amelia, who will be my co-chairs next year, and they will talk to you about a couple events we've recently done and our focus on the future. Irene?
Hello, moving this up. In March, we prepared 3 units for the recently opened transitional housing project built by Dignity Moved, and it's also operated by Home First. This complex in San Jose has 150 units and is designed for people transitioning out of homelessness. We added cozy rugs, colorful linens, pictures on the wall, a hook on the wall with a bathroom, with a bathrobe and slippers, and cheerful pillows to welcome the members, the residents. And then on Rotary Epic Day of Service, we refreshed some of the landscaping and 3 benches at the Sobrato Family Living Center. The complex, this complex houses low-income families with children, and it has a playground. We planted their entranceway, and we dug a lot. We ended up with a shovel issue. First of all, we broke a shovel, and secondly, does anybody know is this anybody's? Because like we just ended up with it.
We ended up with spare tools.
Yeah.
I cannot find out who brought the tools.
Anyway, so it was a good day.
And lowering it further, you get committee members of all heights in this group. Looking towards the future, these projects are just some of the examples that we'll be doing moving forward. In alignment with what Mayor Matt has mentioned, we'll be focusing our volunteer efforts to support those working towards positive housing outcomes. Activities will focus on improving the lives of individuals currently in some form of interim housing or transitional housing or permanent supportive housing. We look forward to what this year has in store, and we encourage all of you to get involved with our community in ending homelessness for San Jose. If you're interested in joining or being involved in some of these volunteer opportunities, please do not hesitate to reach out to any one of us on this committee. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Unhoused Impact Committee. Great year for you. My friend Brian Adams, come join me for a little bit of mirth. Yeah. Doesn't even need the stairs. Hi.
How are you?
I'm awesome.
Now you know why the mayor left early, because I'm doing a bit today. Heather, how you doing? You're in the home stretch.
I am.
Yep.
Yeah.
I gather you're getting a little tired, though. Just a little bit.
I'll play along. Sure.
Thank you. You got to buy the bit. Let's buy the premise here. With apologies to David Letterman, here are the top 10 indicators that President Heather's term is almost over. You with me? You with me? Okay. Here we go. Number 10. First Gentleman and illusionist Jay Alexander is planning unique ways to make her disappear. You like that one, Jay? Yeah. Number 9, President-elect Matt Braker is beginning to sweat profusely. Number 8, the colors of Heather's kaleidoscope are fading. Aw. Number 7, the membership committee has confessed that this year's updates have all been fake news. Sarju, that surprises me. I'm very disappointed. Number 6, there's a proposal to replace Scott's Seafood with catering by Red Lobster. Oh, come on, Cheddar Bay biscuits. I mean, you never, yeah. Number 5, Red Badgers with traveling microphones are doing the mic drops. They're just. Number 4, Heather's holding back a few bags of walnuts for herself. Number 3, she's been seen tossing back a few at the Lazy Cat Lounge Cafe. Number 2, her level of spunk has gone from 11 to 6. We'll work on that. And here we go, folks, a little drum roll. The number 1 indicator that President Heather's term is almost over, she brought me back to the podium for one final bit of shtick. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, I love that man. Always give him the podium. Service to seniors, come on up. Kelly
Thank you so much for giving me a couple minutes. I wanted to share with you guys something that we did. So Service to Seniors is a really fabulous committee within Rotary. So we had a really fun event that we did with Maroney Gardens. Maroney Gardens is a apartment living for people that are seniors and are having problems with poverty. Sorry. So we partnered with Washington School and we did kind of a pre-Cinco de Mayo. It was Dos de Mayo. Fernando. We had frutas and conchas, and the Washington School children came out and played mariachi. It was so cute. One of the gentlemen came up to me and hugged me and said, "Thank you for not forgetting about us." That, my friends, is what Service to Seniors is all about. So what we do is we coordinate fun events and interaction and outreach with different senior communities throughout the area. And if you are looking for something to do, a committee to be on, we do not have regular scheduled meetings, but we do very impactful and fabulous things. We would love to have you join our committee. Where's our little video? Oh, there we are.
La cucaracha ya no puede caminar porque no tiene, porque le falta marihuana que fumar. La cucaracha ya no puede caminar porque no tiene, porque le falta marihuana que fumar. Una cucaracha pinta le dijo a la colorada.
There you have it. So if you would like to join a really fun committee, we would love to have you on board. We have some really fun things coming up in the future.
Thank you so much. I don't know. What was that? Oh, that's a song about marijuana. That's almost as good as that other quote we heard 2 weeks ago that I'm not going to repeat. If you missed it, catch it on replay. It's President's Time. I want to do a cop being good on this one. Here's Vince Sinceri getting the word out still about our Rotary Mobile Clinic. How about that, Vince? I don't even know if you're in the room, but I just wanted to do a catch you being good. Yay! All right, fantastic. Thank you. Adding to our visibility and impact. And then we've got another cop being good. This was, we got some really great press. I'm sure we had some friends in our storytelling committee and maybe our friend Sal, who was able, he says no, I don't know. He said it wasn't him, but hey, we got a great, some really nice press in Mercury News for the Fish Day. That was one of my wish lists, and look at that, beautiful, many, many people, especially my press clipping agent, April Bowen, who sent that to me. That's my mom, she's in her 80s. All right, firesides are still happening, guys. Firesides are a Rotary tradition. You might know that. If you're newer to Rotary, you might not know that. This is a beautiful time to come together and meet people that aren't on your committees, meet in different ways, and just pick one of those there. I believe there is still a table in the lobby to sign up for those. Is that correct? Yes, I got a thumbs up from Leslie. Yes, so I'm gonna leave that there for just another 10 seconds or so. Pick one of those, get your calendars out and see what looks good. Take a picture. All right, firesides. And then this one, oh, we've got the Fun and Friendship hike coming up. We have so much jammed into this one Saturday, guys. So this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna go to the hike, you're gonna go to the district conference, and you're also gonna go to the Lee Weimers, and then you're going back to the district conference, because I'm getting an award. You'd be there for that, right? Of course you're gonna be there. Of course you're gonna be there. There you go. There you go. So check out the hike. Ashley Hopkins passes here, and she's been organizing tremendous hikes, probably once a month or so. Ashley, thank you so much. So take that information down. And then the Lee Weimers, this is the kickoff. This is where we raise those funds to get to those students. This is going to be at Mike Bohr's and Nancy Williams' place. If you didn't get to go last year, please go this year. It is so fun. They bring entertainment. There's lots of food. There's lots of drinking. There's lots of chatting. So please sign up for that. There's a QR code there. And if you can't go, use the QR code to make a donation. They really appreciate it. Yeah. And then in the lobby, we've got, this might be at my end, but anyway, at the lobby, we've got these postcards to talk about the magic of Rotary. This year's district conference is right here in San Jose, at San Jose State. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And they've condensed it to one day, so there's really no excuse not to go. You can do a la carte, you can do just a breakfast, you can do just a dinner, you can do all the things you want. You can do the whole day pass if you want to. So pick up one of these postcards to remind yourself to register for that. That's coming up also on the biggest day, May 31st. All righty. Next week, we've got some big people in the room. Next week, we've got our Congressman Sam Liccardo is going to be here. You guys going to be here in the room for that? Fantastic. I want to thank my dear friend Lily Guggenheim, who has been organizing all of his events and works for him and organizes everything for the Congress. Thank you, Lily, for being here, and we'll see you next week. Yeah, I give you a shout out. I get to do that. And then let's see. My little final thoughts, it's just very brief. Today, after this meeting, you're going to be going on a tour of the San Jose State University Interdisciplinary Science Building. So they're going to meet up here in the lobby, head on down, and go on over. And that is all I have. We managed to cram in so many committees, the mayor, and it is 1:15. We are adjourned.